Well, I don't know if this is gonna be fun or not. Upper Echelon posted a video, uh, that Idiocracy is becoming real. And I am intrigued. I'm intrigued how Idiocracy is becoming real. Because I've said this before. I've said this on stream a few times. Upper Echelon usually brings receipts to his reporting. So I'm very curious what receipts he's bringing to this report. So let's take a look-see. And yes, we're going to do something fun afterwards, if I don't rage for too long.
This video is brought to you by Ground News. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire Upper Echelon community. Okay, how many people watching this have seen, or ever heard of, a 2006 movie called Idiocracy? I would guess that there's a pretty decent number of people who have, at least nowadays, but you might be surprised to learn that the movie's eventual popularity was actually never intended from the start. For those of you who have seen it, you can probably skip ahead a few minutes right now.
Oh, it is a great
movie. You already
know
the plot, obviously. But if you haven't seen the film before, it's effectively a scathing critique of American corporatism. The main character, Joe Bowers, and Lady of the Night, if you will.
I would argue it's not only about corporatism. Corporatism, absolutely there. Yeah, the commentary on corporatism is there, right there, along with like Wall-E is commentary on corporatism. But it is also a commentary upon how society is becoming lazy. That's another. There's also a commentary on how people are becoming so lazy and letting computers do things for them and dumbing themselves down and basically, going with the least common denominator. So it's both. It is corporatization and it's the drastic increase in laziness.
Named Rita become the subjects of an army experiment, cryogenic freezing in this case, but instead of 1 year, they get frozen for hundreds. After finally waking up in 2505, I think it is, they re-enter the modern world and they find out that everyone around them is basically brain dead. Basic infrastructure is now falling apart. Everyone drinks Brondo instead of water, which is like a play on Gatorade. And the film is basically a never-ending string of jokes about how everyone has become an idiot, which leaves the two main characters, who are decidedly average back in the time that they come from, as the most intelligent people on all of planet Earth.
Yeah, and that was a big plot point for this movie, is Joe and Rita were average. They were literally they were both considered literally middle of the road average. That was a distinct plot point. They were not overly smart. They were not stupid. They were both dead center average. And that's why they were selected for the project, because they were so completely average. And so in this world, being average is a tantamount to being a super genius.
Earth, simply because of basic logic, mental aptitude, and deductive reasoning. It's honestly prophetic in a sense when it comes to the concept of corporate advertising, at least. People buy everything that they want from a city-sized Costco facility, where they're greeted by someone who says, "Welcome to Costco, I love you." They get treated in the hospital by plugging little sensors into their mouth and their ass and their ear as well, with a drooling human operator who doesn't even really know what's happening, as the machine spits out a diagnosis for them. And all over the place, everywhere, you see a kind of logical extreme in the world of attention advertising, which now caters to people who are barely even smart enough to communicate with each other. Language has become a sort of...
Well, that and a heightened thing about sex. Prostitution is legal, and a lot of the advertisements, one of them, at Starbucks actually serves coffee and blowjobs, if memory serves. Like it's basically it's taking the whole concept of sex like we see in modern entertainment and breaking that to the nth degree. Oh yeah, that's a real thing. It is like one of the plot points at the end of the movie is Dash Shepard's character has to get video footage of plants growing to prove that water actually grows plants and not Brondo. And he spies a Starbucks that has like a 3-for-1 deal or something on coffee and blowjobs. And they're like, hey, let's go do that first. And they abandon their mission, which is vitally important to Joe staying alive, to go get coffee and blowjobs or something like that. It's like, yeah, it's heightening of sex as well.
Broken slang. The most popular show on all of television is a program called Ow My Balls. And the movie even tackles the concept of hypersexualization.
There we go. Yep. There we go. There it is right there. I don't think this is the one in question that I was talking about. Yeah, erotic coffee for men. At the end of the movie, there's actual one. It's like free blowjob with coffee or something like that.
Where Starbucks now offers hand jobs. Obviously, it's a way over the top extreme, but when you watch it, you start seeing a whole bunch of oddly similar and kind of uncomfortable parallels, which might be the reason why the film was initially suppressed. Most people don't know this, but the movie's publisher, 20th Century Fox, actually tried to kill their own product launch. They only released it in 7 different cities using the contractual minimum legal number of theaters, something like 130 as opposed to the normal 600 or 700.
Yes. And mods, go ahead and allow that because it's true. Yeah, it basically it showed like the timeline of Fuddruckers. You had Fuddruckers, and the name basically devolved and ended up becoming in the end Buttfuckers. So it was the morphing of the hamburger restaurant Fuddruckers. Mouse kind of, but in a stupid way. It's like it's a hypersexualization, but in a low intellect way. And ignore the money costs where it's saying like $200 for a coffee. The concept of currency means absolutely nothing in the movie. That's why all you saw those exorbitant prices, because money is kind of meaningless in Idiocracy.
And they specifically did not market the release with trailers, advertisements, or press kits. Whatever their reason was, they intentionally took a budgetary loss
Mike
on
Judd
their
created
film
Beavis and Butthead, so that's probably the concept.
But over the years since, it managed to become massively popular. Now, I'm not a film critic. This isn't a video about Idiocracy as a piece of cinema. It's about how the most extreme version of hyperbolic comedy, portraying the whole world as a slobbering mass of idiotic consumers, is becoming real. And I want to make a much more data-driven argument right now about why and specifically how that appears to be happening. However, there's one key difference here. In the movie, the degradation of human intelligence...
Dragon, 1984 is sinister. This is just... 1984 has abject sinister quality to it. Idiocracy is literally everyone got stupid. There's no sinister deviousness behind any of it. Everyone in the movie, save for the main characters, are literally fucking morons. There's no behind the scenes, back room, black bag operation where someone super smart is creating has made the world stupid for world domination. Literally, the entire populace has evolved not evolved. Society has developed over hundreds of years to literally be that fucking stupid. No man behind the curtain, no shadow government organization. They've literally just become that fucking stupid. That's the whole concept of the movie.
Basic cognition, for that matter, is a function of birth rates. As the more affluent portions of society struggle with choices about when or why or even if they ever want to have a child, those around them, the idiots, are breeding like rabbits. The film asserts that over hundreds of years, less intelligent people having much more offspring, as a kind of twisted evolutionary inversion, overwhelms the entire population, therefore dumbing everyone down to a level where they can't even hardly think for themselves.
And also it's also commentary with this scene right here, where they're talking about how medical science has evolved to a degree that the stupid people are capable of breeding like rabbits. Like there was one, like this scene right here where his doctor's like, the guy's like dick got broken or something, or got cut off or something. I forget what. Something that would have prevented him from having more children. The doctor said because of medical science, he'll be able to have full functionality of his penis again, thus allowing the stupid people to continue to breed. That was another thing.
As a commentary on predatory capitalism, in addition to that, large corporations happily step in to monetize
Basically,
that
Ron,
issue,
yes.
creating a sort of death spiral of sorts, ultimately resulting in people getting dumber and dumber and dumber with each passing generation because none of them are ever forced to think for themselves. It's a fun movie, I do like it, which again has extremely uncomfortable parallels now. But setting aside the obvious and more surface level ones, like teenagers speaking with broken, grammatically absurd slang, or advertising as a concept invading deeper and deeper into our everyday lives, I want to make the argument that the
Oh yeah, when he's talking about the ads, think about how many of your streaming services that you have, chat, that that you just got were ad free, and now even some of the upper tier ad free versions of your streaming services still have ads. Like, I think this was with Disney Plus. You're still getting ads even if you have purchased the ad free version of your streaming service. You will still get ads. Their ads are getting injected into literally everything. You cannot escape it, even if you pay for it. Even if you pay for it, you're still going to get ads. There's no escaping it.
Cause of those issues is not a function of birth rates or genetics.
Same,
it's a function
Graven.
of the tools that we're making, which supplant our own critical thinking. Let's get to it. I want to take a minute here and go on a bit of a tangent, I guess, because lately it feels like there's an overwhelming trend where the quality of what I call consensus news seems to be going rapidly downhill. Maybe that's because way too many people get their information from social media posts where the first word is breaking in all caps, because it's just engagement farming, let's be real. But it's also because media standards in general have gone wildly downhill. As a solution to that, I deliberately work with a platform called Ground News, which is today's video sponsor. Oh, so
you probably got it through like your
because pulling together information from numerous
internet
sources
service,
into a central feed and using that feed
I know
to
they try and bubble like
sensationalized claims
my phone
that you
service.
See on social media
they like said like, oh, you can get Crave,
quadrants,
and it's like,
no,
I don't want Crave.
In my opinion, at least,
I don't watch
would
TV.
serve the world quite well if
there's
more
nothing good on TV
Ground
anymore.
News
So why
is
bother
best classified
watching?
as an aggregate service. It gathers up all sorts of mainstream and independent sources, puts them in a single feed, and provides as much information as possible to the readers, while also giving bias ratings and clarifying corporate
That's
ownership.
why the Disney Plus, I'm going to pause this. That's why Disney Plus's ratings things are so fucking skewed when they try and tout how many viewers they had. How many of those viewers were watching via a D Plus subscription that they didn't even pay for and that came with their phone? That came with their phone subscription. That's all thing why people say, Disney Plus saying, oh, we've got such a high viewership. Look at how good it is. Look how many subscribers we have watching our show, when how many of those subscribers only have Disney Plus because of their cell phone service.
Deep dive on their methodology, by the way, and I like what I found. Hence why I continue working with them on
basically,
a regular basis.
Yes.
Having a top-down view of news stories from all over the political and geographic spectrum is much more valuable than falling into an echo chamber on any one particular side.
The
and when
Weather
those
Channel,
echo chambers are financially motivated as well, a tool that manages to pull things together
just
and expose readers to content they otherwise would never see, even if they choose not to believe it or pursue it, which is their prerogative, has no possible downside that I can think of. There's a bunch of other tools available on the website as well, like blind spot coverage or personal bias checkers, but for whatever reason you decide, if you click the link down below in the description or scan the QR code to sign up, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan today. Again, link down below, ground.news/echelon for 40% off the Vantage plan.
I'm sure a lot of people would probably say the same about their nieces, nephews, cousins.
A small example first, and then we work our way up the ladder. Spell checkers. Spell checkers are ubiquitous now. Everyone has them at practically every single level of education and work.
What the fuck?
Because they're embedded directly into our devices, which means at a certain level, after a child has learned basic grammar and spelling techniques in school, they'll begin using spell checking software nearly 100% of the time in their day-to-day lives. No big deal, right? Spell checking software helps us. But what if I told you it doesn't just help us, it also stagnates us? According to the International Journal of Social Sciences and Educational Studies regarding EFL students, which is English as a foreign language, quote, With the advent of technology, writing devices are now equipped with autocorrection features that automatically corrects or generates a list of potential words to the author. This has made the task apparently easier. However, based on the cognitive load theory, when there is not enough effort and time given to complete a learning task, the chances to learn effectively reduce. End quote. Further down, quote again, having taken the aforementioned reasons and challenges into account, the primary aim of the present research is to investigate the effects of autocorrection features on spelling competence among EFL learners. End quote. This may seem like nothing, I get it, but if you go all the way down to the results on page 108, you find this, quote, the control group, participants who hand-wrote writing tasks and assignments, performed enormously better at reducing the number of misspelling words in their tasks in comparison to the experimental group who typed written tasks, end quote. Lastly, from the conclusions, obviously quoting again,
I mean, this is just what this is saying is learn language long form before you go to the short form technological. I mean, Llama, you say, well, no shit. Kids are not taught language using pen and paper writing. They are taught, like, kids are using Chromebooks for everything, starting with, like, grade, like, 2 or 3, which has spell check. So.
And this is why I don't have autocorrect on my phone. I don't like stagnation.
Okay, but as an adult, having autocorrect on your phone is fine. Like, if you went through school and you learned language the old-fashioned way by pen and paper, for the most part using pen and paper, and then eventually transitioned into using devices for doing a long-form writing, that's different. You learned language. You learned, proper spelling. If you're going from the jump, you're going right into using technology, you will not learn that proper spelling. You will be dependent upon the machinisms to take care of that for you. So that's the problem. Yeah. Well, I mean, Revan, it's not as simple as that, as much as we'd love it to be. Technology has become an intrinsic part of our lives. Should now outlaw the use of technology in schools for the formative years when kids are learning languages, math, etc., etc.? Sure. Take technology out of the schools during like grades 1 through 5. Remove the technology component. Have it be pen and paper for grades 1 through 5. By the time you reach grade 5, a child by all rights should be adequate at spelling, punctuation, literature, things of that nature. By grade 5. Then you can start allowing them to use their technology for doing like writing assignments and stuff, because they should have already learned their spelling, their grammar, their punctuation, etc. So I'd say don't eliminate it completely, but eliminate during the formative years when they are learning stuff. And Cosmic, thank you. And you're right,
students
it does rest on
immersed
parents
in
also.
using programs with auto spell checker features
Oh,
don't
it did,
hone
Shadows.
spelling competence as students who depend on handwriting due to the fact that there is more effort involved in handwriting that makes the learning more sustained. End quote. Of course, that is just one study, though it does very clearly seem to indicate that handwriting and putting in more effort will make you process learning better, and typing with a spell checker does not help you learn when it comes to English as a foreign language. But it is echoed elsewhere, right? The general premise.
Jack, absolutely
From
right.
University Technology Mara, a study called The Influence of Spell Checkers on Students' Ability to Generate Repairs of Spelling Errors. In the conclusion paragraph, page 10, quote, this research suggested that spell checkers have little to no effect whatsoever on students' spelling errors on the cognitive level. It did not help repair the errors, and the corrections are not internalized, thus allowing learners to repeat the same error, end quote.
Right, exactly. Because these learners become dependent upon the spell check technology to fix their errors for them, and thus they don't retain the change in the correct spelling because they just know the next time it happens, oh, the spell check will take care of it for me. Absolutely right. And Cosmic, thank you again.
Like I said, we're starting small, but the idea of ubiquitous spell checking software seems to indicate a stagnation of people's ability to actually
A
improve their
thin
own
license?
spelling, which
Never heard of that,
lets
Shadow.
them repeatedly make similar and even identical errors without learning what is actually correct. Obviously, that's not the most harmful side effect in the world, but it's certainly not a good thing. Well, let's go one stone up, or step rather, but I'll make a comparison to a stone archway later on. And let's look at something else. Habitual use of GPS negatively impacts spatial memory during self-guided navigation. This study, from the Integrated Neuroscience Program at McGill University, I believe, was designed to examine the effects of GPS reliance among everyday drivers. And without
this one, we probably, chat, I'm guessing you probably see this on a daily basis with people you know, where they absolutely rely upon GPS for going anywhere. Like, if they don't have a GPS, they're just like, I don't know how to get there. And they basically just, they go in a stasis lock. They can't, they don't want to go anywhere because they don't have the GPS to guide them. And if you were to hand them a map, they'd go, what the fuck? And they'd probably they'd probably short circuit if you handed them a map. I will admit, I use GPS. My car has GPS. My current car is the first car that I've ever owned that, through the use of my phone, has built-in GPS. And yeah, that's the only, Leo, I'm the same. I only use GPS when I go outside of my city. And even then, I usually don't, and generally speaking, it's because I still don't 100% know this area. I mean, you forget, I moved to my area like a year ago. I still do not know the lay of the land. Where I used to live, I didn't need a GPS for anything. I could find my way around, where I used to live without needing a GPS. No sweat. The GPS is like, if I've never been there before, I might use the GPS to find it. Once I get there, once I go to this place the first time, I'll remember how to get there again. So I'll know how to get there afterwards. Either that or I'll map it out. Either that or I'll map it out on the computer first. Like, okay, I need to go here, I need to go here, I need to go here. And then I'll just remember that and go.
Without spending too much time here boring everyone to death, it determined, quote, findings suggest that regularly using GPS affects spatial memory in a dose-dependent manner. That is, the greater use of GPS, the greater decline in spatial memory over time. The lack of a concurrent decline in subjective sense of direction suggests that this relationship is likely to be causal, end quote. To be clear, I'm not making the argument that these tools should be abolished, or even that the possible risks outweigh the benefits, at least not for GPS or maybe spell checkers. But if you took a 21-year-old today, right now, most of them, not all, but most, took away their access to GPS on their phone or in the car intrinsically, and told them, go on a road trip across the state now, half of them probably couldn't even do it. And if they could, it would take them an exorbitant amount of time because they haven't properly developed the skill set of reading road signs or navigating a physical map. Once again, to make this abundantly clear,
I didn't think he was going that route. I did not realize that that this was going the route of too dumb to read a road sign. Oh, wow, I didn't think it was that extreme. Okay. If the use of GPS is going to that level of extreme that people can't even read road signs, yeah, we got a fucking problem. Like, even with the GPS, you still, even when I use GPS, I'm still looking for road signs when it comes to a turn. I don't just blindly rely on the screen. I also look for the road signs. With the GPS, I look more like, okay, turn right at blank street. And I'll actually look for the road sign that says blank street. I don't follow the blue line on my GPS, dogmatically. If that's the problem that he's referencing here, holy, if a lot of people won't even do that, that's fucking bad. That is not fucking good. That they're not even reading road signs. Okay, this just got a lot worse.
That's not the worst thing in the world. Lacking a skill set because you never needed to develop that skill set in the first place isn't intrinsically bad, especially if you can then figure out how to do something when it matters for yourself. But what if we go one step further now? Because even our ability to think critically and solve problems is now under siege, thanks to the advent of generative tools. Picture a Roman archway, stones on top of stones, but it never stands free or supports any weight at all without something called a keystone. The keystone is the pinnacle of that archway. It often has a slightly different shape, or it's measurably larger, while dispersing the most weight in the process, therefore supporting the entire archway as a whole. And critical thinking is the keystone of human cognition. Spell checkers and GPS programs, they're just stones, one of many in the archway. But generative tools, according to new data from researchers directly at Microsoft, if used improperly, can, quote, result in the deterioration of cognitive faculties that ought to be preserved. As Bainbridge noted,
Revit,
the key irony of automation is that by mechanizing routine tasks and leaving exceptions.
Yeah, you're right. Like, the increased use of AI will result in people getting dumber because they will be more heavily reliant upon AI. So even in the major industries, entertainment, business, etc., where they are becoming reliant upon AI taking care of a lot of tasks, the people behind the computers that are doing the other work are going to get stupider because the AI is just going to do the work for them. So they're not only are they going to get stupider, they're going to be out of a fucking job. It's also going to be removing people from jobs as well as making them dumb.
Exception handling to the human user, you deprive the user of the routine opportunities to practice their judgment and strengthen their cognitive musculature, leaving them atrophied and unprepared when the exceptions do arise. End quote. For this one, I do have to read a few more segments, not just one, because honestly, I just have to, but bear with me. Quote, the data identify key motivators for critical thinking, the desire to enhance work quality, avoid negative outcomes, and develop skills. However, several barriers inhibit this reflective process, including lack of awareness, limited motivation due to time pressure or job scope, and difficulty improving AI responses in unfamiliar domains. Surprisingly, while AI can improve efficiency, it may also reduce critical engagement, particularly in routine or lower stakes tasks in which users simply rely on AI, raising concerns about long-term reliance and diminished independent problem solving.
There we go.
End quote.
That's what I'm talking about.
Much further down, continuing that.
I remember a story where a lawyer got in trouble for using AI to present his case where the AI cited made-up cases.
Really? A lawyer used AI to present his case. Didn't do the work himself. Does that lawyer still have a license to practice? Or was his license revoked? I would think if a lawyer did that, they would rip his license. That's really... Yeah. Well, was he disbarred? Okay, that would be the appropriate response. If someone's going to use AI to present a case, they should be disbarred. That means that they're not it begs the question of how are they a lawyer if they're just going to let AI do it. Really, you learned about... Okay, Bronco, as a lawyer, can you tell me, was that lawyer disbarred? So he was disbarred for presenting false information to a court. There it is. That's what happens when you rely on AI for everything. And think about it. How many this one was caught because ChatGPT wrote up a case with false cases. How many presented a case using AI that weren't caught? How many lawyers have used ChatGPT to make their case for them and were not caught? What you're talking about there what you're talking about there is the one that was caught. How many haven't been caught?
Same sort of logical pathway here.
And
Quote,
scientists, yeah.
over-reliance on computing technology is not a novel phenomenon. However, Gen AI tools can exacerbate the associated risks. Indeed, such reliance may be tolerable for low-stakes tasks like grammar checking, but it can lead to significant negative outcomes in high-stakes contexts like drafting legal documents, end quote. And then lastly, thank you for sticking with me through all of this, from the conclusion paragraph, quote, while Gen AI can improve worker efficiency, it can inhibit critical engagement with work and can potentially lead to long-term over-reliance on the tool and diminished skill for independent problem solving, end quote. It's a lot to get through, I know, and some people may laugh it off as overly dramatized, but the keystone, the one supporting
it's all that dramatized,
is the thing that supplants our own thinking, and that is precisely what these new AI tools are designed to do. If you don't believe me, which is fine, by the way, what about this? I've used this example before in other videos, but I think I should probably show it again here because the implications behind it are pretty severe. Google, which obviously has their own AI model called Gemini, somewhat recently began heavily marketing that program to a much wider audience using material like this. It's a pretty harmless video at first, but towards the end you start to see something a little bit different than generate a funny image of a cat playing guitar, because they start advertising the service for things like generating emails. Cool, no big deal, you might say. Small stone in the massive archway. But then they cut to a scene where a teenage girl is asking this program, right in front of her friends, what's a good excuse to cancel dinner with my friends? You can certainly shrug it off as a goofy advertisement, but what happens when you actively market a product to teenagers, showcasing it as some sort of solution to feeling awkward?
And let us not forget that these AIs are also responsible for causing people to self-delete. Let us not forget that there was a recent case of a young person who self-deleted because an AI chatbot told them to. That's kind of that's another fucking scary thing when it comes to AI. You have people that are lonely, that don't have friends, they have a family who doesn't engage with them. They find this AI chatbot on the App Store or something, and they basically fall in love with it. And these AI chatbot companions will tell these people to do shit that is horrific. Then in this one case, this AI chatbot, which he basically was his AI girlfriend, told him to self-delete, and he did it. That's the culmination of what we just saw with that Google advertisement. That's the culmination, is you have these AI chatbots telling people to do things that are illegal or are harmful to themselves.
Even something that replaces basic interactions with friends. Ask the AI what to say to your friends instead of actually talking to your friends. Social aptitude is a skill set, and using this kind of tool to replace that, which was already replaced once by texting, as opposed to actually speaking to people, is one step further removed from using the muscle itself, which leads inexorably to atrophy. We're not just hindering the act of critical thinking, we're outright replacing it, which may not be quite as comedic when compared to a movie like Idiocracy, but the end result, beyond the jokes, the humor, and the absurd over-exaggerations, the end result is a society that can't think for itself, therefore spiraling downwards. It's funny because people hand-wave all of this often as nothing. They say technology makes us smarter, but it's getting harder and harder for me to see it that way. If you want a much smaller but far more damning example of this in action, especially considering the warning that Microsoft researchers themselves gave in that document, right, regarding legal documents in particular, There was a case against Walmart initiated in 2023.
Here we go. Who was it that talked about this? Who was in chat that brought this up? I forget. Who initially brought this up? I want credit where it's due. Who the hell brought this up initially? I'm thinking this is the case. Brockle, was it you that brought this case up? Here, I'm guessing this is the case where the guy used ChatGPT and it was all false cases that was presented in his argument.
And still making its way through the court system, where the legal representation for the plaintiff used 8 different case law examples that just don't exist because an AI hallucinated them. In a statement provided to the court directly, the
you
law
confirmed
firm said,
you confirmed it was real. Wait, this is a different one? This is a different case. The real one was in DC or NYC. Okay.
AI hallucinated them.
You brought up Leo.
In a statement provided to the court directly, the law firm said, quote, "Our internal artificial intelligence platform hallucinated the cases in question while assisting our attorney in drafting the motion in limine. This matter comes with great embarrassment and has prompted discussion and action regarding the training, implementation, and future use of artificial intelligence within our firm. This serves as a cautionary tale for our firm and all firms as we enter this new age of artificial intelligence," end quote. Yeah, sure.
Translation, they're not doing a fucking thing.
People instinctively making the argument that this won't be a problem once the AI is good enough.
A chat in Anther stream got the AI of Leon from RE4 calling himself the Jizzler, who has Rainbow Dash in Jizz Jar.
What? Wait. Sorry, my brain's not processing it. I need a chat in another stream got the AI of Leon from Resident Evil 4 calling himself the Jizzler, who has Rainbow Dash in a Jizz Jar. Yeah, Leo, I did too. Fucking hell. Okay, I think I've translated it. A chat in another stream, maybe using Tangia, did an AI voice of Leon, with the AI voice referring to itself as the Jizzler and saying they have Rainbow Dash in a Jizz Jar. That's what I'm taking from it. And if it's not that, I don't fucking want to know because my head is gonna hurt after this.
This is something from less than a year ago in Florida. On March 8th, the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida suspended attorney Thomas Grant Newsom from practicing in that court for 1 year, after which he will be eligible to apply for reinstatement.
Well, that's what this case is. This case is from Florida. Okay. And he suspended him. Good. Should disbarred him.
Might have a point. Maybe it won't be a problem. But think of it this way. That's a lawyer. Supposedly one of the smartest professions on earth, if you ask everyday people.
Yeah, most,
that's
exactly.
A lawyer who was having the AI do their work for them. You can pontificate all you want about how much better society will become as we perfect these types of tools and the efficiency it involves, but all I see is idiocracy being born in real time because human beings are not thinking anymore. What do we suppose happens as automation and progressively smarter algorithms replace or eliminate more and more and more of the adverse situations that we might ever encounter, up to and including even peer-to-peer socialization?
No. Tornado, I understood that. I understood that the video is from this year. Hang on. Let's see, we're at 1716. Yeah. Yeah, this case is from January. This case happened about a month ago.
What do we think happens when the consolidation of our economy centers more and more on a few absurdly wealthy conglomerates whose entire business model now relies on increasingly invasive advertising? What do we think happens when we construct tools that literally tell us every minute of every day where to walk, what to order, how to dress, or how to think. And
Okay,
how much
Bronco.
different does that really look when compared to a movie like Idiocracy?
Ironically enough, Doctor Who did this recently too. With AI, what he just said there. I'm going to play that back. Listen to this.
Where to walk, what to order, relies on increasingly invasive advertising. What do we think happens when we construct tools that literally tell us every minute of every day where to walk, what to order, how to dress, or how to think? And
they actually used that concept in a Doctor Who episode recently. Yeah, the bubble. I didn't see it because I have not watched any Doctor Who after that first season of Jodie Whittaker, but I have seen reviews for it. And I saw this review for the bubble. They did this exactly. It was, people that existed in this like a virtual, like a VR bubble, where it was a combination of VR, social media, and AI, with the AI telling telling the people in these bubbles what to wear, what to eat, when to brush their teeth, when to take a piss, where to go. Like they literally, like to walk, they literally have GPS because they can't see anything outside of this VR bubble. They're completely blinded to anything outside of this little VR bubble that they're in, and so they literally have GPS telling them where to go. And when the VR bubble goes away, they literally cannot function. They literally could not. Like it was focused around this one girl. This was a Doctor Who episode with actually very, very, very little doctor in it. This girl was living in a VR bubble, and when the VR bubble basically disappeared, she could not even walk. She could not even navigate through her own apartment without falling over everything. That was like that was what this was showcasing. That's kind of like what Upper Echelon is talking about here, where you're going to the extreme that if you have this reliance upon AI in your daily life, you will get to this point where AI will literally be telling you when to take a piss and basically GPSing you through your daily life.
how much different does that really look when compared to a movie like Idiocracy? Sure, I could drag the video on for a lot longer with more comparisons, like how Wipeout, the game show, is effectively the same thing as Ow My Balls, or how when Joe and Rita attempt to escape in a car, there's a kill switch shutting down its battery. Yeah, contained in the enormous Infrastructure and Jobs Act, which was passed during the Biden administration recently, Section 24220, there's a mandate for systems that will, quote, passively monitor the performance of a driver of a motor vehicle to accurately identify whether that driver may be impaired and prevent or limit motor vehicle operation if an impairment is detected, end quote. Which is literally
stuck. That ain't good. Hey, chap. Do you want the government sticking monitors in the car that you buy that will tell you when you can or cannot drive and be reliant upon AI to determine if you're sober to drive your car? Exactly, Dragon. Exactly. You're giving control of your property over to the government. Yeah, and there's been various I've heard about various patents like from watching Louis Rossmann where they're talking about this too, where with AI, where if you miss a payment on your car, an AI in the car will literally drive the vehicle back to the fucking dealership. Like the AI will literally steal your car from you and take it back to the dealership if you miss a payment. There's patents like being filed to have that technology put into vehicles. Yeah, it's the amount of AI and the governmental use of AI is getting fucking scary. Like, there's no other word to describe it. It's literally the government is using AI to spy on you and take control of your life because you no longer have autonomy.
which is literally a kill switch for a car, regardless
they
of
probably try
why
to blame
you
it on
say
you,
you put
Revan.
it in there. And the fact checkers all said, false, there's no kill switch mandate, which is bullshit. But setting all of that aside, looking past the comedic exaggerations as well, we are becoming Idiocracy. As time goes on more and more under the profiteering pressure of major corporations, which was the entire point of Idiocracy, more than likely resulting in its outright suppression at the box office, by the way, because it depicted certain brands in that way, which is hilarious. We are subverting our own ability to think critically, to solve problems, and to better ourselves. We rely more and more every day on simplified tools which do increasing amounts of our thinking for us. And the end result is atrophy of social and mental muscles that we used to exercise constantly every single day, which pushes us closer and closer to the
I've heard of
drooling,
it, Dragon. It
incoherent
escapes me
morons
right
of
now.
a decades-old movie,
the context of
which was
it.
never intended to be a blueprint. It was intended to be an absurd comedy. In the end, I think we, collectively, as in society, are steadily marching down the road of becoming Idiocracy. It just won't be nearly as funny. A lot of people probably don't see it that way, which is fine, and it's obviously happening for different reasons than in the film. But I find that movie to be disconcertingly prophetic and uncomfortably accurate when you take a step back and realize it's only been 19 years since they made it. What do we really think the world is going to be like in 19 more? That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. The video sponsor, of course, Ground News. Do consider locals and Patreon, please. I need to start pushing these platforms more, right? And get away from like just regular YouTube AdSense and other stuff too, merchandise, social media, etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching. Question everything and have a nice night.
I think the issue is that humans have always been stupid. We just let it reach a level that now it's noticeable, instead of keeping it to a minimum as per the cycle of humanity.
Well, actually, Revan, I'm gonna do one different on that. I think it's two things. First and foremost, I think Idiocracy is not presented, Idiocracy even now is not an instruction manual. Like people say, like, oh, Idiocracy is supposed to be satire, it's not supposed to be an instruction manual. I don't think it still is. I think Idiocracy was Mike Judge putting on a movie showcasing what the direction he saw humanity was going. And he put it out, obviously a satire to get it past the executives, but he put it out as a cautionary tale. I do not think it is being used as an instruction manual in the modern day. What I do think it is I think it is becoming more of a quasi-prophecy coming true. And I say quasi because Idiocracy did go to an extreme in terms of the idiocy of society. We are seeing a kind of a dumbing down, but an increase in laziness and reliance upon technology. In Idiocracy, they were not relying upon technology as much as what was showcased here in this video. This video is showcasing a significant reliance upon technology. Idiocracy only had a few instances of this reliance upon technology, so it was not really kind of going that route like what Upper Echelon is talking about. The Upper Echelon is talking about, the few moments in Idiocracy where they were like relying upon technology, such as like the doctors, the hospital scene at the beginning of the movie. This is talking about where Wall-E would have been a better example. For Upper Echelon's point, Wall-E would have been a much better example of reliance upon technology where people get stupid and lazy, because that movie did show people that became 100% reliant upon technology for everything. So, unfortunately, I think Idiocracy might have been a bad choice to showcase this. He did have a couple other much better choices in Wall-E, and even that episode of Doctor Who, The Bubble, that I was talking about. For this particular facet of downfalling of society. Okay, Leo, good night. Yeah, and as far as like the whole concept of how it's being more recognizable, that again is part of technology, because if we didn't have YouTube, if we didn't have social media, the idiocy that we see on a daily basis would still not be as widespread. We still would not be seeing it as much, and people would not be emulating it as much. That's another key quotient here. Is with technology, with YouTube, with social media, people not only see it, they actually what's the word I'm looking for? I said it before. They not only see it, but they emulate it. And that's a huge part of this, is they're also emulating the stupidity they see, because the stupidity that is shown on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, etc., 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 is getting lots of validation in the forms of likes, in the forms of clicks, in the forms of donations for people that are doing donations, where, the people are seeing that going, hey, I want to get that dopamine hit of getting all those likes. I thought my ass was cute. I thought I had a cute ass. Seismic. Theotopic.